In a world drowning in noise, where everyone's screaming to be seen, the quiet ones are the deadliest. Not the loudest, not the flashiest, but those who carry a calm so fierce it shatters the air. You've been drowning in a sea of people begging to be wanted, desperate for scraps of attention, like a wildfire begging for air. But real power, it's not in begging, it's in becoming the storm they didn't see coming. The one who stands still while everything else burns. The one so untouchable, so carved from something primal and wild, they remember you like a ghost that lingers just beyond the firelight, haunting and impossible to forget. They watched you break. Or so they thought. They thought you'd crumble under the weight of their absence. They thought your light was their gift, your smile their treasure. But what they missed, what they never saw because they were blinded by their own selfishness, was the quake inside you. The earthquake they set off, but never imagined could level their whole world. Because here's the cruel, beautiful irony. You were never the one who needed saving. You were always the one standing tall, holding the ground beneath them. Marcus Aurelius spoke of revenge with cold, unstoppable clarity when he said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injustice." That's not some polished quote to hang on a wall. That's a razor blade pressed to the throat of your past self. When they expected bitterness, you gave brilliance. When they expected collapse, you built cathedrals from the rubble. When they wanted you broken, you became a living storm. Not because you wanted to hurt them, but because you knew your power wasn't in destroying others. It was in rebuilding yourself so magnificently that their choice to leave became a wound that would never heal. Let me be clear, this is not about wearing a mask of cold arrogance or heartless pride. This is about an all-consuming fire that burns away the old you, the one who begged, who cried, who stayed hoping for scraps. This is about becoming a fortress, so fierce and full of life, no storm can tear it down. So fierce and alive that they carry the weight of losing you, like a ghost shackled to their soul. Every second they spent walking away from you is a second tattooed in pain. Because what they lost was not just a person. They lost a force of nature. If your heart has ever shattered in silence, if your worth has ever been questioned by someone who promised forever but gave only goodbye, this is your reckoning. This isn't about hollow platitudes or feel-good lies. This is about fire and blood and raw transformation. This is the path from brokenness to becoming unbreakable, from being discarded to becoming unforgettable, from silence to a roar that echoes long after the door closes behind them. So lock in. Don't scroll past this. Don't skip ahead looking for quick fixes. Every word you're about to hear is forged in the battles you fought alone, in the nights your soul screamed without a witness. This is the anthem for the ones who didn't just survive. They rose, bleeding and unstoppable, from the ashes. This is your story, brutal, messy, and real. Smash that like button if your blood is burning right now. Subscribe for the tribe that refuses to stay broken. Share this with someone who needs to remember their damn power. And type this below if you're ready to stop being the chapter they forgot and start being the legend they'll never forget. They'll regret losing me, but I'll never regret finding myself. Now let's get into it. Number 1. Build a life so full that they can't find a way back in. There's a brutal kind of beauty in becoming the very storm they thought would drown you. At first, you were soft, aching, hoping, begging for closure, staring at the door like a lost child waiting for a ghost to knock. But then it hits you. One morning, one breath, one snap, and something inside you explodes. Not a cry, not a scream, a resurrection. The version of you that was addicted to their love, buried. What rises now? Untouchable, wild, relentless. And the craziest part? You build it all in silence. They expected you to break, to rot in the ruins they left behind. They thought your nights would be lullabies of loneliness, and your days would drip in regret. But instead, you turned cold showers into rituals, pain into gasoline, discipline into religion. You started lifting iron like you were punishing your past. You read until your mind stopped shaking. You stared in the mirror until you saw someone you didn't need to fix, because he was finally becoming a weapon. You stopped checking your phone. You stopped watching their stories. You stopped fantasizing about apologies that would never come. You became the apology. You became the closure. And when the silence got louder, you didn't run. You fed on it. You took the loneliness and turned it into structure, into power, into madness. They thought you'd wait. But what you did? You disappeared. Not into darkness, but into evolution. And now, if they ever look for the way back, they won't find a door. They'll find a kingdom with no gates, no keys, and no memory of their name. You built walls so high that even your old self can't climb them anymore. You became the ghost, the mystery, the lesson they'll never get to learn twice. Stoicism isn't about pretending you don't feel. It's about choosing what gets to own your soul. Marcus Aurelius didn't preach numbness. He preached inner fire. Very little is needed to make a happy life, he said. That little is you, not them, not their texts, not their half-hearted returns. You, your life now. It's not a garden, it's a jungle, feral, untamed, alive with chaos you've made peace with. They were once your sun, but now you've learned to set yourself on fire. You bloom in darkness. You create light from agony. And that glow, it burns their ego every time they peek into your world and realize they're no longer welcome. And the final twist? You never blocked them. You let them watch. You let them scroll through a life they can't touch. You haunt them with success, with stillness, with a silence that screams, "Look what you lost." This isn't healing. This is rebirth. Ruthless, loud, divine rebirth. And it's the kind of comeback that doesn't knock on doors. It kicks them off the hinges of destiny. Number 2. Become emotionally untouchable. Control what controls most. Mastery begins in the silence, after your soul has screamed itself hoarse, when the last message goes unanswered, when the nights get colder, when your hands tremble but you don't type, don't call, don't beg. You awaken something terrifying. You don't just feel the pain. You absorb it, mold it, twist it into armor, because the moment you stop reacting, you become something they can't name, something that haunts, not with rage, but with absence. People expect you to shatter. They expect the meltdown, the stories, the drunken rants, the subtle cries for attention. But when they poke and prod and find nothing, no flare-up, no weakness, just a black mirror of stoic indifference, they panic. You've stolen their script. You've robbed them of the chaos they fed on, and suddenly their power dissolves into dust. Unleashing emotion is easy. Mastering it? That's warfare. Every text you don't send is a knife turned inward, then reforged into discipline. Every urge to lash out that dies quietly inside you. Another brick in the fortress they can never penetrate again. You don't play the game anymore. You burn the board. Epictetus was never warning you about anger. He was warning you about being owned. Anyone who can anger you becomes your master. So if they still know how to push your buttons, you're still wearing a leash with their name on it. Rip it off. Let your silence be so deafening it rattles their bones in every room they enter without you. Now picture this. They stalk your life from behind fake accounts, waiting, hoping to see some slip, some emotional leakage, a crack in the cool. But all they get is discipline, power, calm so dangerous it feels like thunder before the storm. That's how you haunt someone, by being untouchable in a world that feeds on chaos. This doesn't mean you don't feel. You feel everything. But you keep your fire behind locked doors. You don't hand your soul to people who once fumbled your heartbeat like a game. You let the pain carve wisdom into your bones, and you wear that silence like a crown made of scars. Cold? No. Strategic. Lethal. Alive. Let them talk to your ghost. Let them scream into the wind while you rebuild in ruthless serenity. Let them choke on your indifference, because when you become emotionally untouchable, you don't just stop losing. You start becoming unforgettable in ways they'll never recover from. Number 3. Stop explaining your worth. Let absence do the talking. You shattered your own soul trying to spell out your worth for someone who already read the story and closed the book anyway. You spoke in love letters, in loyalty, in late-night softness that begged them to just feel it. You broke yourself into fragments, handed them piece by piece. And they still looked at you like you were too much, too loud, too soft, too intense, too easy. But the truth is, they heard you. Every syllable, every crack in your voice, every breathless explanation. They just chose to ignore it. And that choice should have been your last sentence. You don't need a louder voice. You need a sharper absence. Start vanishing like a ghost that leaves the room colder. Let your silence be nuclear, because when your presence fades, the void left behind starts to scream. That's when the echoes start clawing at their mind. Your smile, your laughter, your warmth. It all turns into a mirror that mocks them. They remember the texts they left unread, the nights they pushed you away, the love they shrugged off like it wasn't sacred. And now they're stuck replaying your worth, in rewind, alone. Don't explain, don't clarify, don't try to correct the blind. Become the question that haunts their peace. Pull back with such elegance that your absence feels like a punishment nature itself delivered. You were the air, effortless, unseen, but vital, and they suffocated themselves by taking you for granted. Now they'll breathe shallow for the rest of their days. You are not an unpaid therapist, not a second draft, not a goddamn demo version of the love they thought they could skip. You were it. And now they'll realize that through empty rooms, cold sheets, and the ghost of your energy lingering where you used to give everything, their regret will come, not in thunder, but in a slow, burning silence. Marcus Aurelius wasn't just writing philosophy. He was writing your revenge. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. So stop talking, become, evolve. Rise so far above the chaos that even your shadow becomes unreachable. You want to haunt someone. Don't block them. Don't scream at them. Don't break things. Just leave. Quietly. Completely. Let your absence drip into their life like poison. Let them rot in the silence they once forced you to live in. And by the time they miss your voice, your fire, your soul, you'll be unreachable. Number 4. Evolve. So powerfully, you become unreachable. They wanted you trapped, emotionally paralyzed, frozen in the memory of them like a statue collecting dust in a temple of heartbreak. But you didn't stay there. You shattered the version of you they abandoned. You ripped the old skin off with bloodied hands and stepped into your rebirth with madness in your eyes and power in your veins. And now, they wouldn't recognize you even if they were standing inches from your face. That's evolution. That's unforgiving transformation. They expected you to pause your life, to crumble in the ruins, to keep the door unlocked for a ghost that was never coming back. But you didn't just close the door, you demolished the entire building. You built a new kingdom on top of the ashes, with fireproof walls and no entry points. You became a force, a legend, something untouchable, unfathomable, unstoppable. And when they finally look for the version they used to manipulate, they'll find a stranger with ice in their smile and freedom in their silence. Every tear they caused turned into fuel. Every sleepless night forged into discipline. Every unanswered message converted into unread chapters of new books, untouched cities, and unheard victories. Your heartbreak became your headquarters, your sadness, your strategy. You didn't heal, you upgraded, and now they couldn't even touch your shadow. You stopped begging the universe to bring them back. You started building an empire so high that even their guilt couldn't reach it. You became the dream they tried to bury, the masterpiece they left mid-sketch. But now, you're complete, you're rare, and you're far, far gone. Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." You're not wasting a second anymore, not on memories, not on maybe, not on manipulators in disguise. Your mind, sharpened, your standards, unbreakable, your peace, priceless. And that version of you, the one who waited, begged, broke, buried in the past like a warning label on a bomb they created but couldn't survive. Let them scroll, let them stalk, let them suffocate on the silence you wrapped around your evolution. They lost access, they lost relevance, they lost the war the moment they underestimated your resurrection. You didn't just move on, you ascended into a realm where they don't even exist anymore. And that is what real revenge tastes like. Number 5. Love yourself in all the ways they failed to. They didn't just lose someone who loved them. They lost someone who would have walked barefoot through hell, dragging their broken ribs behind them, just to hand over a love most people spend lifetimes praying for. And when they spat on it, when they looked away, you didn't disappear. You evolved into something godlike, something wild, something they'll never deserve again. You loved them like war, relentless, all-consuming, beautiful in its destruction. You bent your own back trying to carry the weight of two people's hearts. You stayed when you were starving, you gave when you were empty, and they made you feel like your fire was too much. But now, that fire's no longer for them. It's for you. It's your forge, your resurrection. Every second you spent waiting on their apology is now a brick in your empire. Every tear you swallowed becomes steel in your spine. Every unanswered message. Another reason to rise so far above them, they'd need a telescope just to feel your warmth again. This isn't healing, it's holy vengeance wrapped in peace. You took all that love they wasted and poured it back into your bones, not with grace, with fury, with teeth. You looked yourself in the mirror and said, "No one will ever taste this kind of devotion again unless they earn it with blood." And that's what self-love really is. It's not softness, it's violence in silence. It's looking at the wounds they left and kissing them like they were gold. It's making your loneliness the loudest anthem of freedom the world's ever heard. Marcus Aurelius said, "He who lives in harmony with himself lives in harmony with the universe." But you didn't just find harmony, you became the storm before it. You became the symphony that plays after destruction. You are no longer asking for love. You are the love. You are the loss. You are the lesson they'll taste every time they close their eyes. They'll remember you when their bed is cold, when no one texts back, when no one burns like you did. But it'll be too late, because the version of you that begged, that cried, that tried to explain your worth, that version is buried. and what rose from the ashes. That is unforgettable. You no longer chase love. You embody it. You wield it. You own it like a loaded weapon, and only the worthy survive its fire. If they let you slip through their fingers, let them fall into the abyss they carved out for themselves. You are not a footnote in their story, a faded photograph, or a whisper forgotten with time. You are the goddamn earthquake that shook their world, the wildfire that devoured their false illusions, the storm they never learned to weather. They thought they lost a chapter. They lost the whole damn epic. Your silence won't beg for attention. It will roar louder than their regrets. Your absence won't just sting. It will suffocate the space they thought they owned. Watch them choke on the truth they refused to swallow, that you were never theirs to keep. You were a force unleashed, a tempest they were too weak to handle. They wanted a shadow you used to cast, but you burned brighter, hotter, fiercer, until their darkness could no longer touch you. You became the fortress they couldn't breach, the code they failed to crack, the wild they feared to tame. Your peace? It's a bomb detonating quietly inside you, obliterating every chain they tried to bind you with. You don't exist to fit their mold or drown in their small minds. You exist to rise, to rewrite reality, to burn bridges and build empires from the ashes of their absence. You are the nightmare they never saw coming and the legend they'll never forget. Spread this like wildfire, ignite the lost, the broken, the forgotten, and let them know they were never too much. They were just too explosive to hold. Like, comment, subscribe for the rawest truth that shatters illusions and awakens the savage inside. And stamp this final war cry in the comments. They lost someone unforgettable. I forged someone unstoppable.